Wala si hivyo tu, ila mnafurahia.
Kupata dhiki huleta zaburi. Bonyeza star 811 star 963 hash. Bonyeza star 811 star 963 hash.
Good evening, welcome to Channel 1 Weekend. I hope you've had a lovely Friday. My name is Jacky, Wambiru. Our sign language interpreter is Simon Karutha. We have a comprehensive bulletin lined up for you. Some of the things that we shall be looking at this evening is education, politics, health, and so far. So now we take a look at the highlights.
Even if your brother has a workshop which cannot produce, don't give him. But on the other hand, you should also not discriminate against the not well-established workshops that can. I'm not an engineer, but to bend this thing at a degree here, I think people who are trained in technical schools can do this, isn't it?
Ministry of Education unveils prototype desk for learners ahead of school resumption as Education CS cautions against corruption in procurement of the furniture. National Assembly members of Parliament and senators said to amend the Division of Revenue Act next week as the search for cash crunch solution in counties continue. And 2 deaths reported in Baringo County as the National Health Workers Strike enters day 2.
Welcome to the broadcast. Remember, you can interact with us on our Twitter handle at KBC Channel 1 or at Jacky Wambiru. Now let's kick off whereby the Ministry of Education has unveiled prototype desks that will be used in schools as part of preparations to resume physical learning in January. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha unveiling the desk cautioned against corruption in procurement of the furniture designed to ensure social distancing in the wake of the pandemic. 1.9 billion shillings has been set aside towards acquisition of the new furniture
by the government to facilitate the resumption of physical learning in adherence to the safety measures against the spread of COVID-19 appear to be on course. The Ministry of Education unveiling the new design of desks and chairs that will be used in public schools across the country. Gone are the days when at least 3 pupils shared one desk. The Education CS Professor George Magoha and the Interior PS Karanja Kibicho being the first to test the new furniture that will now be used in public schools as a means to ensure social distancing rules are adhered to. The government already set aside 1.9 billion shillings under the economic stimulus program for this project. Speaking at KICC Nairobi, where he met with county commissioners to issue guidelines for the implementation of the project, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha affirmed that the government is keen on sealing all corruption loopholes in the project.
Even if your brother has a workshop which cannot produce, don't give him. But on the other hand, you should also not discriminate against the not well-established workshops that can. I'm not an engineer, but to bend this thing at a degree here, I think people who are trained in technical schools can do this, isn't it?
These people are supposed to help the Ministry of Education to identify carpenters who are on the edge of being vulnerable groups to be able to be involved in making these desks.
We shall be holding each one of us individually responsible for the resources that will come to your county for the county commissioner and the county director of education, and the sub-counties for our sub-county director and the deputy county commissioner. And we want to assure you that we shall release the resources that is required by our Juagali artisan as soon as you advise us to do so. So we shall be depending on how you deal with it yourself.
The government intends to engage SMEs and local artisans to make desks for all schools in the country. Interior PS Dr. Karanja Kibichu urged the national government administration officers to guard against anyone threatening the integrity of the process.
I am told by the officers who gave me a brief that you have accepted to load up from 50% of the cost of the desk. And there comes the danger and why we need these people. Because you can give a carpenter some 50%, alafu ukimpigia simu imezimwa. We need these people to do that work for you, to ensure anybody who has received your front loading delivers the desks.
The goal is to deliver over 622,300 desks, lockers and chairs to public primary and secondary schools, with every ward expected to produce at least one school.
Those who have worked with me know how I work. We give you responsibility, but it is never complete. That is why you see me going to the field. So we shall come and interrogate as the process is going on. We shall come and interrogate how you have identified the schools. Because if you have identified the schools fairly, then they can make as much noise as they want out there. But then we don't have an issue.
Design prototypes and technical specifications have been availed to the county commissioners, deputy county commissioners and county directors of education, with the deputy county commissioners expected to ensure the furniture meet the specifications of the prototypes before being delivered to schools. For Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Acheng Oma.
And away from education to health matters, now the health workers' strike entered its second day with devastating effect as 2 patients succumbed at Baringo County Referral Hospital as the medics kept off work. This comes as the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers called off their countrywide strike, citing talks had begun. Let's take a look.
The far-reaching effects of the medic strike were felt Friday as 2 people succumbed to their ailments in Baringo County. The diseases include a middle-aged man who had been put under oxygen and needed 24-hour observation, but due to his deteriorating health condition and lack of medics, he succumbed Thursday evening, while a 4-year-old has also died after the medics commenced their strike, which had so far paralyzed health services in the entire county.
Kufika kitu kama saa 9 wakaambiwa, mimi nasikia tu anaambiwa peleka ya kwa CT scanning. CT scanning uko chini. Alafu sasa wakakuja kupeleka, wakatoa hiyo oxygen. Alafu wakatoa hiyo kitu ya kupelekea mtu, wakapeleka huko chini. Kufika huko chini, mimi nikakaa hapo hivi kitu kama 20-30 minutes. Akaletwa tena akakuja kwa kitanda. Kitanda sasa tukakaa kitu kama 20 minutes. Huyo mtu akaaga dunia.
Some of the patients have now resorted to seek treatment elsewhere.
Kuna mgonjwa mwenye angefaa ashonwe mguu leo but hajashonwa. So sai tunatafuta means ya kumchukua hospitali nyingine kwa usaidizi.
Kwa sai itabidi tumetoa pesa mingi kukaramia mgonjwa kwa sababu hii mguu haiwezi kaa siku 2. Itaharibika. Sasa itabidi tumetoa pesa mingi kufanya nini? Kutransport mgonjwa mpaka Masi.
The health workers down their tools on Wednesday demanding for promotions, redesignation, confirmation and provision of PPEs. Meanwhile, Trans Nzoia County Health Services are in jeopardy following an industrial action by health workers at the County Isolation and Treatment Unit. This is after more than 40 healthcare workers stationed at the Mount Elgon COVID-19 Isolation Center in Trans Nzoia County down their toll, citing the county government had failed to address their welfare concerns. The facility, which has 5 COVID-19 positive cases, has been left deserted and patients stranded with no health service providers.
JIC, which is a basic item for cleaning surfaces, has not been available. So we assume that even as we stand here, we stand exposed because the county has not been able to buy JIC even for this isolation center.
While in Kiambu County, Kenya Union of Clinical Officers has threatened to go on strike come next week if the county government of Kiambu does not pay them their August salaries.
Failure by the management to pay the August 2020 salaries severely distresses the employees of the county government of Kiambu. These delays of this nature make us as workers to undergo untold suffering as they are unable to meet their basic needs. We have established that the county Kiambu government had sufficient funds to cater.
Led by the Union Secretary General, they further issued a 3-day ultimatum, failure to which all clinical staff will down their tools. This comes as the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers suspended their strike, citing negotiations that began with the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection to address issues raised by the medics.
National Assembly members of Parliament and senators are set to amend the Division of Revenue Act next week to allow counties to access 50% of the equitable share revenue allocated to counties. The move is a stopgap measure to allow counties to function as senators seek a long-term solution to the revenue sharing formula that remains contentious. On Thursday, senators deferred the debate on the revenue sharing formula as the impasse persists.
The bicameral parliament will on Tuesday seek a temporary measure to allow counties get funds at debate rages on the best formula to share revenue. The decision to amend the Division of Revenue Act comes as governors threatened to have a motion to have Senate dissolved as well as ground county operations.
Nandi County, so I would advise my brother to get in.
Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei says Senate will be seeking to amend the Revenue Act to allow counties access half of their yearly budget.
Tuesday, we shall be moving an amendment, and we have requested to move an amendment on the Division of Revenue Act in consultation with the National Assembly, as provided for by Public Finance Management Act and reference number 3 of 2019 of the Supreme Court decision, to pass a resolution as a Senate and the National Assembly and do an amendment to allow counties to access 50% of their previous allocation on the financial years. And I want to say as a Senate, we are in that concurrence, and it is within the law when we have such stalemate, especially on the issues of revenue. And that one will allow time, senators to ventilate on the matter of revenue of allocation formula without pressure. And
the senator argues that in the event the motion is defeated, then the House will have no option but to vote to either adopt or reject the proposed formula by the committee.
Maybe if our colleagues would want to dare us to go to a vote, we are ready also for a vote on Tuesday, where the Senate Finance and Budget Committee formula will pass, where Nandi will get 1.4 billion, and where the principle of equity will reign on that day. So I can confirm that we are in that aspect of on the issue of resolving this crisis. This crisis is manufactured by the National Treasury, and I want to advise the Council of Governors to direct their energies to where it is rightly deserved.
The move coming a day after National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi urged the leader of majority and the leader of minority to engage their counterparts in the Senate to fast-track the consideration and passage of the Public Finance Management Bill of 2019 with appropriate amendments to entrench in law a procedure for withdrawal from the Consolidated Fund in the event of delays in the passage of County Allocation Revenue Act.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, but on the dice, we would like to finish it up as a county.
Meanwhile, the Senate Public Accounts Committee grilled Nyandarua Governor Francis Kimemia over the status of impassable roads in the region, despite millions of shillings being allocated to improve road networks. A report by the Auditor General revealed that the county reallocated funds contrary to the provisions of the Public Procurement Act, denying residents value for money, as residents cannot access crucial amenities due to poor road networks.
the law is very clear on when and how you can do reallocation between government entities and others. So the question is, even if you have provided a letter, Chair, through you, Chair, to show that there was a meeting, I've seen the CC was in that meeting and their minutes, why did you provide this issue of reallocation of funds as provided for under the Public Finance Management Act?
Most of the roads since independence, out of 7,400 kilometers, only 250 are tarmacked. The rest are left to the governor. Most of them, about 90%, are under the governor to look for money wherever you can get it, seal roads, put in some stones here and there. Nyadwa needs assistance in terms of being able to implement the 7,200 kilometers of roads that are still untouched, that are still not tarmacked. But Mr. Chairman, I would like to say as follows, and this is something that we are working very closely with the Senator. We purchased roads maintenance equipment worth half a billion shillings to be able to, because we discovered that allocating 20 million shillings per ward per year is not going to help. The contractors charge me 1.4 million shillings per kilometer. The nature of sales there is horrible. So
the county boss was also on the spot to explain why the county boss used 12 million shillings in a 2017-2018 stadium project whose initial allocation was 183 million shillings.
And if you combine together with Nyeri and Laikipia, there will be no reason why you should not be one of the most well-performing counties in this country.
2 parcels of land do not have complete permanent perimeter fences, and large parts have been left idle without any development. To date, the county has not obtained ownership documents of the parcels, and our response is that due to the prevailing misunderstanding between the two counties, the plots may not be developed until the occupation issues are addressed by the
auditors need to see the original tender documents, because what you are grappling with here, what you gave us is just some extracts, but this is not enough. The auditor needs to read the original tender documents to confirm that the information you are giving, the quantities you are giving are correct.
The committee also tasked the governor to provide assets and liability register and explain measures in place to ensure subsequent governments do not end up purchasing equipment due to neglect that could render assets obsolete. For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Well, thank you so much, Gladys Mungai, for that report. We want to take a short break, but before we do that, let's take a look at some of the comments coming in on our Facebook page, whereby Felin Wangechi, you say you're tuned in from Bomet. Ishmael Ombaso, you say you are tuned in, while Augustine Mongela, you say you are tuned in from Nunguni in Makueni County. Thank you for keeping us company. Let's take that break.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola, taste the simple joys.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
You should never gamble with what you can't afford to lose.
All I'm interested in is making money for you and me. Buckets of money.
You're Kenny Shipper.
Paulie, I can't be driving around in no electric limo.
Booster, don't touch it.
It's just not me, Paulie. I've got an image to protect.
Thank you for joining me today, Mr. Rick.
Well, how can I possibly resist?
Oh, by saying no.
Oh.
My best friend Kenny lost $1.5 million of your dad's money.
What?
I'm white down!
I just want to be your friend.
I don't need any more friends.
Put it down. Put it down!
Jumapili hii kwenye runinga ya KBC, ungana naye Askofu Michael Wanderi
wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu kuanzia saa 1 hadi saa 2 asubuhi.
Ningetaka nikwambie, our Jehovah God, because the Bible says he is the same yesterday, today and forevermore. He is able to take you to a place of abundance. He is able to take you to Rehoboth in the name of Jesus Christ.
Kipindi ni neno la neema, ukiletewa naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu. Usikose.
KBC Channel 1 evokes the full potential of worship in you.
You are the living God.
You waited for me, just for me.
Join us for an experience like no other when it comes to lifting your soul and giving adoration.
We are here for you. Tasimama tena, tainuka tena.
Worship experience. Praise mix.
All of a sudden.
And welcome back. Now moving on, Deputy President William Ruto says he will not stop supporting religious organizations and youth empowerment activities. Addressing church leaders from Nyamira County who called on him at his going home in Uasin Gishu County, Ruto said he is unapologetic on his faith. At the same time, he touted his critics, challenging them to engage in empowerment activities.
Nikiita watu nyumbani, wanalalamika. Nikienda kanisani, wanalalamika. Nikienda kutoa matoleo kanisani, wanalalamika. Nikipatia mtu pikipiki ama bodaboda, wanalalamika. Sasa, my friends, kwani nyinyi hamuna kazi ingine ya kufanya? Kazi yenu asubuhi, jioni. Wiki hii, wiki ile ingine. Kazi yenu tu ni kufikiria ile mimi nafanya. Kwani nyinyi katika vichwa yenu hamuna kitu ya kupanga nyinyi hata nyinyi mfanye? Bona please my friends. My friends. Kenya iko matatizo mengi. Vijana zaidi ya milioni 6 hawana kazi. Watu zaidi ya milioni 17 wako chini ya umaskini. Fikirieni hawa watu. Tusaidiane, nikipatia moja pikipiki, wewe patia mwingine gari. Nikipatia mwingine mkokoteni, wewe kwenda nunulia mwingine kitu fulani. Wacha kulalamika. Sasa kulalamika throughout. Perennial complainers. Munalalamika mkishindwa. Munalalamika mkiwa serikali. Munalalamika mkiwa everywhere. Nyinyi ni mashujaa kweli wa malalamiko. Mimi nimeinuliwa na Mungu ili niweze kuinua watu wengine. Mimi nimeinuliwa na Mungu ili niweze kusaidia na kufanya kazi na kanisa. Na mimi sirudi nyuma.
ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi is urging political leaders to exercise politics of integrity devoid of incitement. Speaking during a burial ceremony of the late Gaturi MCA Cyrus Keiru, Mudavadi reflected that 2007 post-election violence, which left more than 1,400 people dead, was sparked by careless utterances and incitement. This as Kapsaret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi held a political rally in Eldoret town where he dismissed his detractors, saying they are focusing on hate speech in order to divert attention from scandals at the health ministry.
As political players continued to ventilate on remarks by Emurua Dekir, Member of Parliament Yohana Ngeno, and his Kapseret counterpart Oscar Sudi that are perceived to be bordering on hate speech, the Kapseret Member of Parliament held a political rally in Eldoret town. The unapologetic Sudi dismissing his detractors for focusing on hate speech in order to divert attention from the alleged scandals at the Health Ministry.
Msitahifadhi maneno ya KEMSA. Nilisema mapema mwezi 3 mwezi 4 iliyopita. Nikasema hii corona ni fake. Wakakataa kusikia. Nikasema hii maneno wanatuambia lockdown. Ati muoshe mkono mkae nyumbani. Alafu hao wanajitayarisha kuiba pesa wa Kenya.
In Murang'a County, politicians attending the burial of the late Gaturi MCA Cyrus Kiiru called on their counterparts to exercise decorum and sobriety. ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi also joined the fray by asking Kenyans to reject leaders out to create animosity among the communities.
Kile nataka tushtumu kwanza, hata kabla tujaenda mbali, ni hii siasa ambayo imerudi ya matusi na kujaribu kuleta shida katika Kenya. Wewe kama unataka uturudishe kwa siasa duni ya kuleta tension ya kikabila, wewe ni mugoroki.
Elsewhere in Machakos County, ODM Youth League met and endorsed the impeachment of Migori Governor Okoth Obado, who has been implicated in a corruption case. The remarks were countered by a lobby group that questions why the ODM party never pushed for the impeachment of other governors elected under the party and who are implicated in corruption.
How many ODM governors have been implicated in corruption cases? What of their MPs and cronies? Yet the leadership has gone mute in many corruption cases since the handshake.
This as Garissa Governor Ali Korane was summoned to appear before the Ethics and Anti-Corruption detectives on Monday following graft allegations. DPP Nordin Haji okayed Korane's prosecution over the misappropriation of World Bank grant amounting to 233.5 million shillings.
And the church has raised concerns on the ongoing political antagonism, which it says is not healthy for the country. The Kenya Council of Church Alliances and Ministries further warned suspension of the BBI and 2022 politics, which it claims was the root cause of the current political standoff. This as various women caucus held prayer sessions across the country as they called for an immediate political ceasefire. Yusuf Farah with more details.
The men of the cloth drawn from different church denominations have waded in the ongoing political circus in the country, calling for sobriety. The church leaders under the umbrella of Kenya Council of Church Alliances and Ministries called for a national reconciliation strategy to restore unity in the already paralyzed country.
We wish to condemn in the strongest terms possible the irresponsible and unfortunate remarks made by a cross-section of political leaders directed to our president and the presidency.
We offer to initiate a national reconciliation strategy to restore unity in our beloved nation. As a church, we want to begin now to see reconciliation taking place in our nation because things are not going in the right way. Such a strategy should be executed without placing any further strain on a national budget. The church is ready to do it. We don't have to ask a budget from the government. We can do it because we feel this nation is not going in the right direction. 2, we urge politicians to suspend all political activities related to BBI and 2022 elections until the country has recovered from COVID-19 pandemic.
And as the clergy called for political tolerance, women from different churches in Embu County came together to hold mass prayers as they demanded for political tone down in the country.
Let politicians not start misguiding the citizens of Kenya into the clerks that they are trying to make.
In Kiambu, the same song, the same chorus as women drawn from the entire county came out to condemn the current state of affairs in the country.
Sisi hakuna wakati moja tulisikia
Mama Gina amesema nchi ni yake ama president nchi ni yake. Sijui ni kwa nini hawa watu wanafugwa mdomo kuweka president na familia yake maneno kwa mdomo.
Kenya hatutapigana. President alisema hatutapigana. So hiyo vichocheo ambayo wanataka kuanza huku, tumekataa na tumewalaani nyinyi.
In Nairobi, a section of business women took to the streets on a peaceful demonstration to condemn what they called reckless and abusive language by political leaders. The irate lot marched to parliament buildings to call on the leaders to exercise political hygiene and avoid utterances that are a threat to national unity and peace.
We have given them an ultimatum of 7 days, failure to which we will mobilize all the mothers of this nation to publicly arrest them and hand them over to the relevant authorities.
Waanze kuhubiri amani na waanze kupractice political hygiene, kwa sababu Kenya ni yetu sisi wote, na ule mtu atapewa kiti ya urais 2022 ni Mungu atampatia. Kwa hivyo haina haja ya kutusi wenzako. Siasa ikiisha tutakuwa wapi? Si tutakuwa hii Kenya.
Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News.
Now, staying on the topic of COVID-19, the country's COVID-19 burden has risen to 35,793 after 190 more people tested positive in the last 24 hours. The country recording a further 395 recoveries and an additional 4 fatalities resulting from the virus, pushing the total number of fatalities so far to 616.
The Ministry of Health on Friday announced 190 COVID-19 infections after 4,609 samples were tested. The new cases now pushing the total coronavirus caseload in the country to 35,793. Out of the new cases recorded today, the youngest was a 1-year-old while the oldest was 85 years old. Over the same period, 395 recoveries were recorded, with 116 from the home care program and the remaining 279 from the various health facilities across the country. The total number of recoveries now stands at 22,442. Fatalities rose to 616 after 4 more people succumbed to the virus on Friday. In terms of distribution of the 190 new cases per county, Nairobi led with 65 new cases, Kitui 27, Mombasa 16, Uasin Gishu 13, Embu 10, Kisii 9, while Garissa, Kajiado and Kiambu each had 6 cases. Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
And on to the corridors of justice, businessman Chris Obore and Robert Oukobodo are facing fresh murder charges in the death of 28-year-old Kevin Omwenge. This comes as the duo took plea, with Obore charged with failing to secure a firearm and ammunition contrary to the Firearms Act, while Oko was charged with 2 counts of being in possession of a firearm illegally.
The same is also available.
The duo appearing before magistrates in Kian, Tobacco, were each charged in 2 separate counts. Obore has been charged with failing to secure a firearm and ammunition contrary to the Firearms Act, while Oko has been charged with 2 counts of being in possession of a firearm illegally. The two denied the charges and were released on a 50,000 shillings cash bill or an alternative bond of 50,000 Kenyan shillings with a surety of similar amount. With information that Obure was experiencing chest pains, the court granted permission for him to seek medical treatment after undertaking a COVID-19 test.
He shall be escorted by officers from the relevant police station where he's being held to Nairobi Hospital Main to be attended to by his family doctor. You will give an update to court number 2 when you mention the matter, if that has been done or if there is any issue.
The case will be mentioned on the 30th of September. The duo will remain in police custody until Monday, when they will face murder charges. Meanwhile, the hearing of Bobasi Member of Parliament Innocent Tubiri of alleged breach of peace kicked off on Friday in a Kisii Law Court. In 2018, the MP was charged with incitement to violence contrary to Section 96 of the Penal Code for allegedly uttering words which indicated that it's desirable to damage property. The next hearing is set for 12th and 13th of November this year. For Channel 1 News, I'm Serafina Robbie.
Now, on a separate matter, the Gare and the Godia clans of Mandera have agreed to live in peace after years of interclan conflicts. A ceasefire agreement was reached following a meeting between the clan elders that also culminated to the return of stolen camels from both sides.
The Gare and Dogodia clans have for a long time been involved in interclan conflicts that have deterred peace and development in the northeastern region. The residents can now enjoy peace after a ceasefire deal by elders from the two clans. Gare clan elders on Thursday evening extended an olive branch and subsequently returned camels that were stolen as early as 1964. Hussein Maalim of Takaba Sub-County, Mandera West, decided to return all of his wealth that consists of camels only, which his forefathers stole from the Dogodia as a gesture of reconciliation.
We want to call upon every person who has taken animal from other communities to return to the people their properties.
Ukiwa Dogodia, ukiwa Gari, mali haramu huwezi kaa naye maisha. Wakati unakufa utaulizwa.
Area Chief Isaac Robo during the reconciliation, noting that the government has a role to play in ending the feuds.
We don't want such habits to continue through our area. That is why we are being employed by the government, and we must bring this community together to stay together peacefully.
Abdullah Aziz Farah, a commissioner in the National Council of Intercommunal Conflicts, called on area communities to coexist peacefully, reminding residents that intercommunal clashes result in killings, injuries, displacement of persons, and untold suffering of communities.
Madhumuni ya hii kazi yote ni kuleta roho ya makabila pamoja, ili tuhusiane, tukue ndugu na jirani, na tukue watu moja katika nchi moja. Sio watu ambao wanafarakiana. Ikiwa wewe ni nani, wa cheo gani, uchukue mfano leo hapa.
The Dogodia and Gare have fought for control of resources since 2013 after the advent of devolution. Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News.
Now, Kenya Broadcasting Corporation graphic designer Frederick Wangai tied the knot with his longtime partner Jacqueline Minor in a colorful ceremony at Anglican Church of Kenya, ACK Zimmerman. The two lovebirds took the vows at the church in presence of their family, friends and colleagues.
It was a day full of love and joy as the two lovebirds bid goodbye to singlehood. Joined by family and friends, the two said, "Yes, I do."
I give you this ring as a symbol of our marriage.
With the help of God, I shall love you and honor you
all the days of my life.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
And were declared husband and wife at the Nairobi's Zimmerman Anglican Church of Kenya. And with the current crowd restrictions prompted by the COVID-19 pandemic, the couple kept it small. It was evident that social distance and wearing masks was mandatory for invited guests. KBC Frederick Wangai was grateful that the day was finally here and that it was successful.
Today we are very excited that the day has been successful, and finally I'm taken. So I'm just saying goodbye to the single people. It's been real.
His mother, Esther Modoni, could not hide her joy as she welcomed the daughter-in-law in the family.
Nimefurahi sana, kijana wangu amefanya harusi, nimeletewa msichana kwa nyumba yangu na sikukuwa na msichana. Kwa hivyo nimekaribisha huyu mtoto yangu na nitamshukua kama mtoto wangu.
KBC family was here too to celebrate the new couple in town. From KBC, we wish Freddie and Jacky a happy marriage. Beatrice Gatonyangetich, Channel 1 News.
Well, congratulations on Mr. and Mrs. Frederick Wangai, wishing you all the best. Now, moving on, Kenya and Uganda are set to mark 1 year since the signing of a peace deal between the Turkana, West Pokot and the Karamojong community in Uganda. The Moroto Peace Accord is hailed as having transformed the region. More details in the county briefs.
Saturday will mark exactly 1 year since the signing of the Moroto Peace Accord that birthed peaceful relations between communities in Kenya and Uganda. Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa hailed the peace deal for having changed the region's fortunes.
The joy it brings to the communities when we put aside cattle rustling, we put aside the issue of infiltration of small arms and conflict. Then you find that we are one people, separated by artificial borders, and we want to see how we can use culture as a tool of integration.
Elsewhere, this was the situation in Mwandoni Kisauni sub-county. Irate residents up in arms, alleging a plot to grab Kishanda Grounds football field. Angry residents are now appealing to the authorities to intervene and save the land from grabbing.
Lakini kumetokezea mtu kwa muda mdogo anasema lazima yeye hichi kiwanja ni chake. Na mimi mwenyewe nimecheza hapa 1974. Nilianza hapa ikiwa hakuna nyumba hata moja. Tulianza hapa. Hiyo tunaomba watu wote wajitolee, wazee, waheshimiwa wajitolee, waje hapa watusaidie.
In Nairobi County, Umoja Residents Association are calling on the national government to join hands and help them build a modern social hall in a 2-acre piece of land that was recently recovered from the hands of some land grabbers. Meanwhile, Elijah Sigona, the chairman of Trusted Society of Human Rights Association, has petitioned the Senate to ensure compensation of internally displaced people living in Kisii and Nyamira. Sigona wants the money released by the government for the compensation to be accounted for.
The issue of compensation has raised serious questions on how and the manner in which compensation was carried out or carried on within the Republic of Kenya. We had witnessed IDPs in other places in Rift Valley and Central being compensated with a lot of money.
In the same county, Kisii University has adopted virtual learning to preoccupy its students as they wait for the reopening of universities. Vice Chancellor Professor John Akama explained the need to introduce the learning system owing to the COVID-19 pandemic.
We have developed a tailor-made platform, virtual platform, which is very much adaptable and which can accommodate many students at the same time when they are being taught.
Finally, Federation of Women Lawyers of Kenya FIDA Executive Director Anne Ireri is calling on the government to ensure 100% return of girls to school post the COVID-19 pandemic. Ireri, who was speaking in Kisumu County, said any girl impregnated or married during the pandemic must not be discriminated because of their current situation.
It seems that the curve to some extent is starting to flatten. So the next discussion as a country we need to have is the reopening of schools. And reopening of schools, as FIDA are concerned, and our focus will be to make sure the government is able to put in place measures, especially for the girls who we know are going to be mothers, that we want to see deliberate efforts that these girls will make it to class.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Emily K. Bade.
And still on matters of COVID-19, the number of confirmed coronavirus infections topped 8 million in Latin America, the region with the most infections in the world. Though there were indications the spread of the virus was slowing in some countries. More than 28 million people around the world have been diagnosed with the coronavirus, and more than 913,000 have died. This is according to the Johns Hopkins University.
The number of confirmed coronavirus infections topped 8 million in Latin America. Brazil, suffering the worst outbreak in the region, stayed atop the Latin American tables for coronavirus cases and deaths, recording a total of 4.2 million infections and more than 128,000 deaths. The average number of cases also fell slightly in Peru, Colombia and Mexico, the countries with the most infections after Brazil. This comes as the Brazilian state of Bahia signed an agreement to conduct phase 3 clinical trials for Russia's Sputnik V vaccine against COVID-19 and plans to buy 50 million doses to the market in Brazil. Meanwhile, India's health ministry has asked states to allow coronavirus testing on demand without a doctor's prescription as the country logged another record jump in daily cases. India reported another record daily jump of 96,551 coronavirus cases on Friday, taking its caseload to over 4.5 million. The Czech Republic reported 1,382 new coronavirus cases, the highest single-day tally to date, extending a renewed spike in infections that has led authorities to impose tighter face mask requirements. Greece, France and Palestine have all reported a record number of daily coronavirus cases. Palestine has confirmed 7 more deaths and 1,000 new coronavirus infections over the past 24 hours, the highest single-day jump since the outbreak began. Elsewhere, mainland China reported 15 new coronavirus cases at the end of Thursday, up from 7 cases a day earlier. This even as South Korea posted 176 new coronavirus cases on Friday, a slight increase from the 156 and 155 cases reported on Wednesday and Thursday respectively. Globally, over 20 million people have recovered according to Johns Hopkins University. For Channel 1 News, I'm Emily K. Buddy.
And in the world of business, licensed telecoms wishing to exit the Kenyan market will have to inform the regulator and subscribers 6 months in advance. This is according to new draft regulations by the Communications Authority that will also compel mobile phone operators to compensate their customers in case of network outages. Industry stakeholders and the public have 90 days to make their submissions to the authority.
Under the proposed guidelines, telecom operators in Kenya are expected to establish a do not SMS, do not call, do not spam and do not disturb register for registered customers who do not wish to receive marketing and promotional messages by the operators. Any unsolicited marketing or promotional message will lead to customer compensation by the operator. Marketing communications delivered by SMS may only be sent during the day within the time period of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. according to the proposed regulations. The Communications Authority says the consumer protection guidelines are geared towards protecting consumers. Telecom planning to exit the Kenyan market will be expected to notify CA and its subscribers 6 months in advance of the plan and provide subscriber management strategy. A licensee must engage customers and develop a customer transfer procedure detailing the number of customers to be transferred, date of transfer, proposed service or product mapping, customer information, and notification procedures. The Communications Authority further says operators will compensate customers when the network outages knock out voice, data, and text services under the new draft regulations. Compensation will be credit equivalent to the time mobile phone users are without voice and SMS services. The public and telecoms have 3 months to make their submissions to the authority. O'Brien, Command for Business, Lunchtime News.
Livestock keepers in lowland areas of Wambiru County have been asked to emulate other pastoralists in Kenya by keeping high-quality breeds of camel to boost camel meat and milk production. The county procured 942 camels of high-quality breeds at 77 million and distributed to farmers to increase camel meat and milk production.
Breed upgrade program aims to improve the resilience of the trade of pastoralists and is one of the programs the county government is undertaking to boost agriculture in the area.
The camels are normally sourced from counties of Wajir mostly, although they can also be sourced from Garissa. The environment and the weather in Garissa and Wajir is similar to this one in Samburu County. So we don't expect our camels to find any challenges in terms of climate adaptation. And so we expect our Department of Veterinary Services to be doing continuous monitoring and providing support to these farmers until these camels are stable.
Investment in mechanization and provision of certified seeds to farmers in highland areas to boost the county's food security is ongoing. Farmers in Barsaloi area in Samburu North received 280 camels under the program. Beneficiaries were elated as they received the camels, saying the animals are scarce in the area despite their suitability compared to the goats and cows who are in higher numbers. Elsewhere, more than 700 farmers in Kilifi County have benefited from grants worth 100 million shillings from World Bank. The National Agricultural and Rural Inclusive Growth Project, implemented through the Kilifi County government, aims to increase food production. The project prioritizes coconuts, dairy, local chicken production, and beekeeping. Farmers who registered in groups of between 25 to 30 members got between 300,000 and 2 million shillings. Matsangoni Beekeeping Group received 20 beehives under the program and are nearing harvest time.
Tunategemea sana kuvuna asali mara 4 kwa mwaka. Hiyo ina maana kwamba tumezidisha lile zao, na katika kuvuna mara 4 kwa mwaka, kwa kila mzinga tunavuna lita 7. Hiyo ni minimum.
The group says through the proceeds of the trade, they not only help the families meet their daily expenditure, but are able to save and educate their children. Narig project coordinator said private agricultural consultants will be hired to supplement the efforts of agricultural extension officers in the county. Finally, the dairy sector in Nyandarua County got a major boost after a 1 billion shillings milk processing plant opened up in the area. Ziara Dairy Limited was built in the last 3 years and is targeting to benefit over 6,000 farmers drawn from the county. Nyandarua Governor Francis Kimemia termed the investment as a big milestone in assisting milk farmers to get value for their money.
Na nimeona kwamba maziwa ndio chache sasa. Wananchi mulete maziwa na muone kwamba maziwa ni safi. Hii itakuwa ni mradi ambao pia watakuwa na mradi wa kusaidia na kufundisha farmers wetu hao 6,000 ambao watakuwa wamejiunga na hii cooperative kuwafundisha kutoa maziwa safi na maziwa ambao haijawekwa uchafu hata kidogo.
Factory General Manager James Kamau said the management decided to invest in the sector due to the milk glut that has been witnessed in the county. He noted that they are set to process ultra-heated dried milk, powdered milk, butter and cheese. Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 Business.
Now, Kenya's economy is expected to rebound next year to expand by 5.3%. Estimates from the National Treasury indicate that growth will drop to 2.6% this year due to the adverse effects of COVID-19 pandemic. This comes even as the International Monetary Fund gave the Kenyan economy a positive outlook, saying it will adjust its growth projection next month.
Port Secretary Julius Muya says that Q2 economic indicators are already showing strong performance in agriculture due to favorable weather and lifting of lockdowns in key export markets. The manufacturing sector is also showing strong recovery, as evidenced by the strong performance in cement production. Muya further says the ICT sector, which has been critical in supporting the economy, is expected to report improved performance. This is on account of increased digital communication. This comes even as the International Monetary Fund said it will revise upward economic projection for Kenya next month. According to the IMF resident representative for Kenya, Tobias Rasmussen, the change in outlook is supported by an improvement in several economic indicators. IMF says there will be upward revision of its June forecast for the Kenyan economy, where it had warned that the COVID-19 pandemic will see the Kenyan economy shrink by 0.3% in 2020. The fund says there has been an upturn in most activity indicators looking at the numbers coming out of Kenya, and it's fair to say that the outruns here have so far been better. The National Treasury expects the Kenyan economy to expand by 2.5% due to COVID-19 induced economic slowdowns. When the first case of the virus was reported in Kenya, the government responded by closing the airspace, imposing a dusk-to-dawn curfew and curtailing inter-county movements. These measures have so far been lifted as the number of cases decline. Renaissance Capital focused Kenya's economy to grow at 1.5% in 2020, driven by superior agricultural yields and strong export of flowers and horticultural goods.
the sports arena, Kenya international and Kashiwa Razor forward Michael Olunga has been named J1 League Most Valuable Player of the Month for August. Olunga has had a stellar performance in Japan's top league and is the current leading scorer in the Golden Boot race, having netted 15 goals from 14 matches. With Olunga's immense contributions, Kashiwa Razor are fifth on the log with 26 points and a goal difference of +9. His exploits in his maiden top flight campaign led to praises from the Football Kenya Federation President Nick Mwendwa, who is certain that Olunga's form will be key in Kenya's Africa's Cup of Nations and World Cup qualifiers. Moving on, Elizabeth Mbugwe has emerged the overall winner of the just concluded mobile gaming competition dubbed the MobiPlay Challenge. The 8-week challenge saw over 70,000 mobile gamers from across the country compete in various mobile games, including simple puzzle, arcade, and action games. Elizabeth, hailing from Kiambu County, accumulated 1,168,750 points to create an unassailable lead during the last 6 weeks of the competition. She takes home the grand prize of an iPhone 11 Pro Max, as well as 3 PlayStation 4 devices and 22 Neon Ray Pro smartphones, among other daily prizes won during the challenge. Victor Kimio from Nairobi and Kevin Ocharo from Nyamira finished in third place, respectively, with 1,147,100 and 405,600 points each, taking home Neo Pro smartphones, among other daily prizes ranging from headphones to airtime.
Because it attracts extra competition, but I was tough. I was also tough.
And the whole purpose of launching the campaign was to connect with the youth, especially in this time of COVID, where we know that they are not able to visit their, gaming dens to just relax and enjoy. So we felt, how is it that we can be able to provide them what it is that they do, what we call offline, online. Last year, we actually did a countrywide gaming tournament, and we went on ground across the country. I mean, we were in Kakamega, we were in Mombasa, we did the finals, of course, in Nairobi, and we were everywhere. And what we were able to see is that there's a lot of interest in the youth to be able to participate in gaming.
Now, on a separate matter, English Premier League side Arsenal FC will be without several key players for the Premier League opener against Fulham tomorrow, including defender David Luiz. Now, the Gunners travel to Craven Cottage to face the newly promoted Cottages in the 2020-2021 curtain raiser, which is the weekend's early kickoff. On Sunday, Everton travel to North London to take on Tottenham Hotspur. Well, that's it for tonight. Thank you for choosing KBC Channel 1. Well, remember to adhere to government's directives so as to curb the spread of coronavirus. My name is Jacky. Wambiru, sign language interpreter this evening was Simon Karotha. Well, now over to you, Irene Muchuma, with the weather updates. Have a good night.
Right, Jacky, it's time for us to have a look at our weather patterns that are unfolding here in the home country and abroad. Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Irene Mchoma Odem. Tonight, Narok, Eldoret, and Kericho towns are the coldest. Temperatures stand at 11 degrees Celsius. This, as most parts of the country have been covered with partly cloudy conditions, but there are showers accompanied by thunderstorms over a few places in the county of Kisumu. So how are we kicking off the weekend and Saturday? This is it. The whole country will experience sunny conditions, but there will be cool and cloudy weather conditions during the early morning hours in the counties of Nairobi, Nyeri, and Meru. This will change during the afternoon hours. There will be showers in Nyeri and Meru over a few places, and especially over mountainous areas. But the northeastern parts of the country, Mandera, Marsabit, Garissa, Machakos, Makindu, Voi, and also at the coastal strip, sunny conditions will prevail, and thus why not spend the day by the beach or even engage in outdoor activities. It will be sunny in Mombasa, Lamu, and Malindi. Residents at the Lake Basin region will continue to enjoy wet conditions that have been prevailing in the area. There will be showers accompanied by thunderstorms over several places, and this will affect Kitale, Eldoret, Narok, Nakuru, Kericho, Kakamega, and Bungoma areas, and also a few areas in the county of Samburu. Temperatures will be favorable in the country. The highest will be experienced in Mandera at 37 degrees Celsius. The capital will experience highs of 23 and lows of 13 degrees Celsius. Not so bad. Let's now cross the borders and have a look at the international forecast. Do have a good night. See you tomorrow.